Let's say you find yourself in front of a quadratic equation and you were asked to solve for x. You are unable to solve by factoring. What do? Well, you know on this particular parabola, let's say that there are two x-intercepts. You can see when you graph it, but at the end of the day, you cannot factor whatsoever. There's no whole numbers that will do the things that you need them to do. That's where the quadratic formula is going to come into play. In this course, you need to memorize the quadratic formula, but you do not need to know how to get the quadratic formula. However, the curriculum states that you need to be able to follow along and appreciate how we got the quadratic formula from the standard form of the equation. So, you do not need to memorize the steps that I am taking today. You just need to follow along and be able to appreciate how we get from this to x equals something, okay? Remember, when we're solving, we are looking for the value of x. So we need to have x alone, we need to isolate x, and then have everything else on the other side. That's going to be a little bit challenging because we have two x's in our standard form of our equation, but I'm going to walk you through how we're going to do this. So to isolate x, the first thing I'm going to do is move my c to the other side. That leaves me with ax squared plus bx is equal to negative c. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply everything here by 4a. So I'm going to multiply ax squared by 4a. I'm going to multiply bx by 4a. And I'm going to multiply negative c by 4a. I'll tell you why I'm doing that in just a second. Let's expand this. That gives me 4a squared x squared plus 4abx is equal to negative 4ac. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a b squared to both sides of my equation. 4a squared x squared plus 4abx plus b squared is equal to negative 4ac plus b squared. Now the reason that I did those two steps, the reason that I multiplied everything by 4a and that I added a b squared to both sides of my equation was because I wanted to set myself up to be able to factor a perfect square trinomial. On the left-hand side here, this is a perfect square trinomial, which means that we're going to get something squared. That's going to be useful because then I'll only have one x in my equation. Here I still have two x's, and those are really hard to isolate, especially when one is a squared. Okay, let me just walk you through how this is a perfect square trinomial because I know it is not very obvious. I'm just going to factor by grouping. I'm going to split this up. It's going to be 4a squared x squared plus 2abx plus 2abx plus b squared is negative 4ac plus b squared. I'm going to common factor my first two terms. I can pull out a 2ax, leaving me with 2ax and a b. In my second two terms, all I can pull out is a b, leaving me with 2ax plus b. I'm going to common factor these, so that's 2ax plus b times, oh look, 2ax plus b is negative 4ac plus b squared. I can then simplify this to be 2ax plus b squared is equal to negative 4ac plus b squared. Now look, I only have one x. This is going to be much easier to isolate. In order to isolate it, I need to take the square root of both sides. So I'm going to take the square root of my left side, giving me with 2ax plus b. I'm going to take the square root of my right-hand side, negative 4ac plus b squared. Now recall that when you are squaring something, so let's say if I'm squaring 6, I'm going to get a positive number 36. But if I square negative 6, I'm also going to get positive 36. So when I'm taking the square root of a positive number, I need to recognize that there are two options for what my answer could be. My answer could either be the positive version of that option, or my answer could be the negative version of that option. In order to recognize that, I need a plus minus here, because I need to understand that there are two possibilities of what this could be. Okay? Again, when I take the square root of 36, there are actually two options, 6 and negative 6. Negative 6 squared is 36, just like 6 squared is 36. Let's continue to isolate here. Now it's a lot easier to get x on its own. I'm going to subtract b from both sides. And I'm going to divide everything by 2a, leaving me with x is equal to all this stuff. We are then going to go ahead and rearrange. Instead of just having a floating plus minus here, I'm going to move my negative b all the way to the front so that I'm very much reminded that this is the case. So it's going to be negative b plus or minus the square root. And instead of having a leading negative here, I'm going to put my b squared in front. So I have b squared minus 4ac, and then it's all over 2a. And what you'll recognize is this is the exact same as the quadratic formula that you were going to memorize. This is the quadratic formula that you are going to have to memorize. Again, can I pull up here enough here, just about. B is the b value of your standard form. A is the a value of your standard form. And C is the c value of your standard form. Okay? Not so bad. Again, the purpose here is that you understand how we get to this formula, but at the end of the day, all you need to know is what the formula is. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. To help you memorize, there's a number of different jingles. My favorite jingle goes like this. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And that's the quadratic formula.